Alright, so welcome back everybody. So for this video, I'm going to show you guys how to play Klondike Rush by Red Raven Games. It has been quite some time since I last played this game. Years, in fact. And I've never officially done a how to play video for this game. So I thought it was time to rectify that and make a how to play video for Klondike Rush. So, let's get started. In Klondike Rush, there's going to be a number of different mechanisms involved in this game. One of which is, this is an auction game. Most of this game, almost half of this game is going to be bidding on mining companies, okay? Which is, auction. It's also going to have some set collection involved, and there's also going to be you're going to be building routes and things like that as well to make things cheaper for you as you collect stuff, like fish, for instance, and emeralds, for instance, Then there's moose, and there's also, I guess you could say that this is like leather, and there's also the snow beast, otherwise known as the Yeti, okay? So we're going to be trying to collect these to complete orders. And we're also going to try to collect Yetis to basically also get this reward money as well. Anyways, so let's talk about how the start of the game is going to work, since this is an auction game after all. The first thing you're going to do is, first of all, everybody will start with the same amount of money. They're all going to start with 30 money, okay? 30 money. And 2 orders. Now, these orders will have things on them that you're going to want to try to get, so you can complete these orders for more money. There's also a reward for the player who completes the most of these orders, too. So what you're going to do is, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw. If you're playing a 2-player game, you're going to draw 2 of these mining corporations or mining companies, okay? If you're playing if you're playing a 3-player game, 4-player game, or 5-player game, then there's only going to be 1 of these at a time, okay? Just 1. And then what you're going to do is you're going to be bidding on just this one company. Now, if you're going first and you do not win the bid, and you're playing with multiple players, then you've basically lost your turn. You're not doing anything this turn. But with only 1 card that everyone is bidding on, it's not a huge deal if you don't get to do anything on your 1 turn, because you could potentially get a mining company on somebody else's turn and then have something to do later anyways. But yes, everyone's going to be bidding on just 1 card if you're playing 3 players, 4 players, or 5 players, okay? Then each player that's playing in that game is allowed to bid 1 time, secretly. And then the player who bids the most money is going to get the card, basically, okay? So let's say you're going first. You're player 1, and you bid 4 money, okay? Then that means player 2, they have to bid at least 5 money or more. Then, if you're playing a 3-player game, the 3rd player, they have to bid obviously more than what the 2nd player bidded. And if they do bid more than the 2nd player, then they get this card. However, when you're playing a 2-player game, that's going to be different, because you're going to have 2 cards here, and there's only 2 people playing this game, okay? So what you're going to do is, the player who's going first, they will make a bid on these 2 cards, okay? These 2 mining companies. Then player 2, they can bid. And they have to bid at least 2 more money than the other person, okay? So let's say I was going to bid 2 money on that. Well, then my opponent has to bid at least 4 money. And so let's say they do that. They bid 4 money on the mining company. That means it's going to actually come back to player 1. Player 1 is going to get a chance again to decide if they want to bid more than 4, meaning they'd have to bid 6 money more. Obviously, that's a lot. So their first bid here is not here anymore, because let's say they want these 2 cards. They're going to bid 6 money. Okay? Now, player 2 over here, you know what? They have a choice now. They can either, bid 8 money or more, okay? Or they can let the player have it for 6 money. This can keep going until a player passes when you're playing a 2-player game. So you could potentially bid your opponent up for just 2 mining companies. That could be possible. But don't forget that if you're bidding your opponent up, they might pass earlier than you want, and you could end up getting these for a high cost fee. But basically, that's what you're going to do first. You're going to bid for these 2 cards. Now, let's just say, for the point of argument, I was able to bid successfully. Let's just say I was able to bid 6 money successfully. Well, I'm going to pay the 6 money to the bank. Okay, so let me do that. Okay, and now I have these 2 mining companies. Okay, so now the next part of the game can kind of continue. Okay, I've got these 2 mining companies, and I kind of put everything on the board here because so this way you can see everything in the camera. Okay, what it's gonna give me, besides the fact that these have a name, is this one here is going to give me 2 mines of that particular color, which is yellow. So 2 of these for yellow. And this one is white, but there's no white in the game, but there is blue. So 1 blue mine. That's what it's going to give me. Now I can use these mines to basically build routes in order to collect goods, okay? Now you'll notice there are 4 of each of the colors of mines here. This is the town, and there's already 4 here. You'll also notice that each of them is on the number 1. So this is a 1, okay? So each of these mines are on the 1 because there is exactly 1 of each mine, okay? That's significant because as you build more of these mines, these will go up, okay? There'll be more mines. So when you decide you want to build, you're obviously going to want to build something, a mine, somewhere that will help you get potentially something you're working towards. So if these were my 2 cards, I'd want to try to get a fish, or I would want to try to get emeralds, okay? So where's the closest emerald? Well, fortunately, the closest emerald is right here next to town. So that means if I wanted to build this, if I wanted to get this emerald early, for instance, I could build a mine there. So let's say I am going to take and build the yellow mine here. Now, because this is the cost of building a route. So if I wasn't going to build here, let's say I decided I wanted to build all the way over here, the cost I would have to pay between the yellow mine over here and the yellow mine over here would be 3, 4, 6, 8 money at least, because I'm building so far away. But if you decrease the cost, you can decrease the cost very easily by just simply building close by. And so building it from here to here would normally only cost me 2. But since there are mines here, and there's a mine between here and here, it doesn't matter if, so let's say, for the point of argument, excluding this equation, let's say there was a yellow mine here, okay, and I decided I wanted to build the blue mine here. It would actually decrease the cost between these 2 mines. So instead of it being 2 money, it only cost me 1 money, okay? Now, it doesn't matter if it's a 2 or a 3 or a 1. Once you have 2 mines that are right next to each other like that, or right next to each other like that, doesn't matter on the color. It's only going to cost you 1 for each, basically, route, okay? But, it's going to cost me more if there's a bigger gap, So, if it was something like this, well, there's no mines near each other, so I still have to pay the full cost getting from one end to the other, okay? But yeah, that's how that's going to work. So you're going to want to build close by to town to increase the chances of making it cheaper for you, most likely. Now, another interesting thing to note, And the reason why we built the yellow mine there, which is only going to cost me 1 money, so let's pay that. Here's the 1 money. Let's pay it. Okay. Now, the reason why I built the yellow is because I have another yellow here I can still build on my turn. You're allowed to build as many mines that you have access to that you can afford on your turn. So that means I can build this mine here. Now, remember, I want to try to complete this order for the emeralds, right? I've already got 1 emerald, so I just need 1 more. And wouldn't you know it, there's 1 over here, for instance, okay? So if I was to take, for instance, this one and build here, I now am only counting the cost from this yellow mine to this yellow mine, because there's a big difference in cost going this way. If I was to go here, this is not the closest mine anymore, because it's 3 routes away, while this one and this one is only 2 routes away. 2 versus 3, it's going to be cheaper one way or the other for sure. So now, so if this wasn't here, it would cost me 2, 3, 4, 5, because this would be the closest here, right? But since I've got this here, it's only going to cost me 2 and 3 money, because I have a yellow mine there and yellow mine there. So that's the idea of building a route. You want to make things cheaper for you, obviously, by building mines closer to each other, especially of the same color. Of course, you can make things cheaper just by simply building 2 any colored mines next to each other. But if you're trying to get something in particular, you're going to want to try to build something at least close by to decrease the cost somehow, some way. But now, hey, I could then complete this order. I could, pay the 2 emeralds, and I could get 7 money from the bank. So let's do that. So now I've spent some money doing this, but I've also made some money as well. And now I just have 1 order left. Now you're probably wondering, how do you get more orders? Because you only start with 2 in the game. Well, here's the orders here. Well, what you're going to do is some of these mining companies will give you orders. So if you take a mining company that has this box, and you successfully bid and take it, spending the money for it, not only are you potentially going to have a mine on this card, but this one's also going to give you an order. And then you are allowed to draw an order, 1 for each box, basically, on each mining company that you purchase. Some of these don't obviously have the supply boxes. The first 2, they didn't. They just had mines on them. Some only have the supply boxes on them. So sometimes when you buy a mining company, it's not even going to give you a mine. So that can happen too. But this one also gives you 2, basically, what's this? Oh, I forgot the icon. What's it called? Hold on. It's called an investment icon. That's right. So these are investment icons. So this card, even though it doesn't give you a mine, and it does at least give you that, another, order to complete potentially, it's going to give you 2 investments. Now, investments are going to give you lots of money depending on when you decide to cash in a certain card. This is like your gold card. This is like a gold card for you. It's a one-time use. You can use this at the end of your turn as a one-time use. So what it's going to do is, if I decided I was going to use this now, okay, well, first of all, let's make sure we have the correct amount of mines on. There's currently 3 mines on the board here, okay? And I haven't built this blue mine yet, okay? What it's going to do is it's going to give me money based on how many of these investment icons I have and how many mines in total there are times the value of each. So, for instance, I only have 1 of these investment for the yellow, but there's 3, but there's already 3 on the board. If I was to cash this in, it's a one-time thing. If I was to cash this in, I'd only get 3 money for this card, and I'd only get 1 money for this card. But if I had multiples, okay, if I had tons of these yellows, So let me grab some yellow. So here we go. Here's a yellow that has 3 of them on there. And let's say there was 5 mines that were yellow, right? If there were 5 mines that were yellow, and I had 3 of these investments, it'd be 3 times 5, which is how much? 18. I'd get 18 money. So that's one way you're going to get a ton of money in this game, is you're going to collect a lot of mining companies. They're going to have a lot of investments, and you're going to collect money for all of your mining companies. So not just one, but if you have multiple colors, that means multiple money values for each, amount of investments of each colored mine. But you only get to use this once per game, and once it's gone, you will never get to use it again. So there's some advantages to using this one early, because maybe you're running out of money and you want a lot of extra money for bidding power, because let's face it, you want to win bids so you can get more of these mining companies. But if you don't have much money, you can't bid much, obviously, right? And so using this early, obviously you'd want more of these cards. That would be a little bit too early to use this now. But at some point, you're going to want to use this. So if you use it early, it could be advantageous to have a lot of extra money so you can bid more to get more of these companies. Because then the other bonus, well, even though the money is secret, you don't know how much money your opponents have. You might have an estimated guess. You're not really keeping track of how much they have, but you might have an estimated guess. Well then, you potentially know how much they have, potentially, maybe. And so you can kind of mitigate that. Be like, ooh, if I can get a ton of this, I can basically outbid and get a ton of these mining companies. Because that's a fundamental way to win the game, is getting tons of these. Because if you don't get tons of these, then you pretty much can't do much of anything in this game. This game is going to require you to get tons of these mining companies, so that way you can do a bunch of different things. Especially the ones that give you those mines, so you can collect more set collection items, okay? Or Yetis, snow beasts for that matter, right? So that's basically what you want to do for that equation. But that's how that's going to work. One-time use, but probably best to save it for later so you can get a ton of money. So that way, because see, the thing is, the reason why it's probably better to save it for later anyways, is because the person who has the most money at the end of the game is going to win the game, okay? So doing this later will probably ensure you get more money than you would if you did it early. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be awesome for you either, because that will also mean you might not be able to buy as many of these companies, these mining companies, as other players who used this card early on. So there's some tactical decisions to be made here. Now at the end of the game, you're also going to get money one more time, based on obviously on the amount of these, I've already forgot what the icon is called, sorry. Investment icons. I don't know why I keep forgetting. Investment icons, okay? Times the number of, how many mines are actually of each color are on the board here, and how many investment icons you have for each of the colors. And get a ton of extra money that way at the end of the game. So you're going to get money one time during the course of the game, thanks to this, tons of it, thanks to this. But then at the end of the game, you're going to get more money again based on what you have here and what's here on the chart here. And then whoever has the most of these snow beast icons, okay, these Yeti icons, or tokens, whoever has the most is going to get a $25 reward. So that's another way you can earn a ton of money at the end of the game, is having tons of them. Now, if there's a tie, so if you're tied for snow beasts, let's say 2 people are tied for snow beasts, well then you're going to share the money. You're each going to get the same amount of money from it, rounding down. So in this case, you're basically getting 24 money split in half. So 12 for each player that's tied, for the reward of catching this rare snow beast, this abominable snow creature. So that's how that's going to work. Another way you can earn some extra cash is the player who completes the most orders will get an additional 15 money this way. So there's another reason to complete as many orders as you can, because then you can get 15 extra money that way. If you're playing with more than 2 players, there's going to be possibly a way to get even more money. If you're like playing with 4 people, there's going to be whoever has the second most amount of orders fulfilled basically could get some money that way, or 3 players for that matter, right? But basically that's pretty much everything you need to know in order to play the game. You're going to get money for, like I said, trying to collect, these mining companies at the end of the game, or should I say these investment icons, okay? Finally remembered. Investment icons times how many mines you have on that board there, that chart, okay? Money for having the most snow beast tokens, You're also going to get potentially a bonus money for having the most orders completed. During the game, you'll get extra money for completing orders. During the game, if you use this card, this one-time use card, you can get tons of extra money that way to help you, obviously, buy more of these mining companies. And then there's a couple of free actions that you can take either on your turn or on your opponent's turn. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, you're only allowed to use this card at the end of your turn, okay? You can't use it during your turn. It has to be the end of your turn if you're going to use this on your turn. But there are some free actions you can take. So, for instance, I don't have to change in. So if I had 2 of these, emeralds here, okay, and I still hadn't completed this order here, okay, and I had 2 of these emeralds here, and it was my opponent's turn. On my opponent's turn, as a free action, I could turn both of these in to get 7 money. That could be advantageous if you're planning on wanting to win the next bid at the auction for those mining companies. So you're allowed to do this. You're allowed to do this exchange on your opponent's turn as well. So that's something you can do on their turn. Another thing as a free action that you can do on your opponent's turn or your turn, let's say I have a need of money, okay? And I have 3 tokens here. And these 3 tokens aren't really doing me any good. I need moose, for instance, or I need elk. I mean, maybe not moose. I need elk, and I need that leather because my orders are only for them. Like these orders here are only for those 2 things. But this is what I have here. On your turn, or on your opponent's turn, as a free action, you can turn in these, including the Yeti, the snow beast. You can turn them in for a 5 money cost. So you can get 5 money that way. Of course, fulfilling orders is still better because you get 7 money. But if you don't think you can wait and you need the money, you could get this in exchange for 3. So that's another free action that you can take. But I think I explained the game fairly well. I think that's all you need to really know in order to play the game. This Yeti here is only to tell you whose turn it is, so that way you know who's going to be bidding first for those mining companies, okay? So that's what this is all only for, to show you who is the player who's basically taking their turn, basically. So when your turn is done, you'll hand this to the next player. But basically, that's everything you need to know in order to play Klondike Rush. So I hope you guys liked this how to play video. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye.